Now, the big updates in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Efforts have begun for renewing negotiations amid a continued offensive in Gaza. Hamas has meanwhile released a video of 3 Israeli hostages pleading for their release. Now, the Hamas video shows 3 elderly hostages who are aged between 79 and 84. All 3 of them could be seen sitting on chairs at an undisclosed location and asking to be freed. Israel has strongly condemned the release of the video and has called it a criminal terror video. As per reports, talks for the release of the remaining hostages in Gaza have renewed. The chief of the CIA met the Qatari Prime Minister and the head of Israel's Mossad spy agency in Warsaw on Monday to discuss a potential new deal. The Mossad chief was reported to have met with the Qatari Prime Minister in Norway on Friday night. Hamas officials have meanwhile reiterated that a potential deal will only be possible if Israel stops its attacks. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met Israeli leaders on Monday. He said the United States will keep providing Israel with arms to defend the country. He also announced that the first commercial trucks have entered the Gaza Strip since the war started. Following the talks with his counterpart about scaling down the offensive, the Israeli defense minister signaled that Israel will gradually transition to the next phase of operations in Gaza.
We will continue to operate in different levels of intensity according to the situation in the region, and I can tell you that soon we will be able to distinguish between different areas in Gaza. In every area where we achieve our mission, we will be able to transition gradually to the next phase and start working on bringing back local population.
The United States has also announced a 10-nation coalition against Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. It has also expressed its willingness to engage with India in resolving the ongoing conflicts in West Asia as well as in Ukraine. Amid the diplomatic efforts, Israeli strikes continue to hit civilian areas. We now show you the visuals of the devastation from various areas in Gaza. This is northern town of Beit Lahia, where buildings have turned into rubble. These visuals are from Deir el-Bala in the central Gaza area. The wounded and dead were rushed to hospitals in the aftermath of the Israeli strikes on Monday. And this is southern Gaza, which is witnessing the heaviest bombardment after the renewed offensive. The situation is particularly grim in Khan Yunis, where several are reported to be killed and injured daily as they are caught in the line of fire. Israel has also released a video showing strikes on targets in Syria. This, it says, is in retaliation to a number of launches from the country towards Israel. On the other hand, Hamas has released footage of a purported strike on an Israeli military vehicle being hit by a Cornet missile in northern Gaza's Beit Lahia. For more on this, a correspondent, Jody Cohen, has sent us this report. Listen in.
129 hostages remaining in Gaza, 20 of whom have been killed by Hamas in captivity. And Hamas in the latest has released that video of 3 of the elderly hostages. The IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari has said that that shows the cruelty of Hamas against the elderly innocent civilians who need medical attention, and said that Israel is doing all it can to bring all of the hostages home, and that the world must work to allow medical aid and visits to those hostages remaining. Meanwhile, White House spokesperson John Kirby has said that a hostage deal is not imminent, but that the US is working towards the release of all those hostages. And we know, as you said, that the Mossad head David Barnea is meeting with his US and Qatari counterparts in Poland for talks on a potential new deal. Now, a hostage deal would involve a temporary pause in fighting, but another vote, as you said, that's taking place today is the UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire. That was delayed from yesterday to today because talks are ongoing with the US to try and avoid them using their veto. Remember, the US vetoed the last resolution calling for a ceasefire because it said it would leave Hamas in power if there was a ceasefire at this stage, and because Hamas has said it wants to carry out more massacres against Israelis again and again. Now, US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that Hamas must not be able to threaten Israel from Gaza or threaten Gazans anymore, and the US is negotiating on the wording of that resolution, trying to have it changed from calling for a ceasefire to calling for a temporary pause. And it also takes note that it doesn't explicitly condemn Hamas, so it remains to be seen what happens with those talks on both those issues.